of you who are really wanting to understand everything, maybe you've heard it for the second time and now will be more ingrained in what you're doing. Betty Zoyer, our tutor, is here. Hi. Who just joined? Okay.
I have a question. Can I ask now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. I tried to go to the pathway today, and when I try to say view team, and I only see we have 15 of them, but I only see 12. Does this mean that those 3 did not do some kind of sign up?
But you only see 12. You only see 12 chins?
12 members.
12 members. Betty, can you take that one? Do you know?
You know, I've noticed some little oddities about that too. When you're looking on the dashboard, the Basecamp Manager dashboard, I don't know. I was going to put a question into them. Does it take a while to populate? Because, I mean, I had taken my assessment and it was a day or two before I showed up on the dashboard. So I don't know if it just takes a while for it to get there or what exactly, but it doesn't seem to sync up quite right to me either, and I don't know why.
I heard that too, that there's a lag of a couple of days to get on the dashboard. And, and if they haven't taken their assessment, I don't know if they'll show up.
I was under the impression that if you're a member of the club, you should be showing up whether you did anything or not. As far as let's say money feedback, but I guess come to think of it, if you haven't logged into Basecamp and created a profile or something, I guess you couldn't send them any feedback if they haven't created a profile. Now that I think about it.
How could they if you didn't have a profile?
Right.
So you don't know whether it's the fact that they have that they're a member, they have a profile, or that they've done their assessment. I'll find out.
I think once you log into, I don't think you actually have to go in there and make anything for your profile, because I did try to send one to Margie before she had taken the assessment and selected her path, and I could go to her profile page. Although I couldn't do it today, but I did it several days ago.
Okay.
I'm just going to assume it's one of those little kinks they're working out, like when the website was down the other day and I almost died.
Right. Yeah, I called and I said, I think they know. And I said, oh, don't bother them. They said, no, let me put you through. And I said, no, I don't want to talk to them. I want them to fix the problem. So what I did was Betty and I worked together, and I was really sort of the hands-on for this. So you can blame me if some of this doesn't make sense, and we'll tweak it, because we plan on having a Pathways webinar Wednesday every once in a while. I took the current Pathways deck that the guides use in the meetings, and I reordered a few things. I took out redundant stuff and added a few things to help you understand how D40 is looking at it. Each district, when they roll out, has a different start date, and therefore they have a different probably set of expectations for how much Pathways each club can do between then and the end of the Toastmaster year. Some districts have more Toastmaster year to work with, and some don't have very much at all. We've got about 4.5 months, so we wanted to work through that. And then, of course, any questions. And just like she just interrupted me now with a question, I am more interested in the questions you guys have and your thoughts. So these topics that we're going to go through on the slides, I'll try to be specific if you're calling in on phone. But if you have a smartphone, you can see these slides. We tested GoToMeeting out, and you can see it on your smartphone. So without further ado, yeah.
Kathy, if I may, 2 things. One, would you mind relaunching your slides? Everybody's seeing them split. You know, maybe get in and out of PowerPoint. And the other thing, I assume you want us to record.
Yeah, once I get started. So get in and out of PowerPoint.
Yeah, no. I mean, just try to launch the slides right now. Okay. I guess F5 and see what happens.
It looks good now.
It does, because I don't have it up. I just trashed it.
We can see your whole screen. like you're working in it.
Oh, you can see me working in it. Okay.
So
All right.
if you want to keep the recording, let me know. I stopped it and because of the slides, so let me know about that.
How about if I just do it like this? This seems to work. We'll have to work on the technical difficulties here, Palacio.
Okay, so do you want me to hit record or no?
Yep, go ahead. Alrighty. First slide, pathways talking points, both for vice presidents of membership and for the VPEs who are trying to calm people's fears. These were the high points. I combined two slides. It's high value, it's fun. The high value goes into the fact that you're getting more for your $20 for a path than you did when you got two manuals. The customized to your need, of course, that's obvious when you go through it. And I think people like this part of it. In fact, we've signed up new members who said, I'm just going to start in pathways. I want to do the assessment and I want to do something that's geared towards what I want. It's self-paced learning. You can use the word self-paced learning. It's competency-based, 68 to 300 plus competencies. I do have a list from District 4 of all those competencies. I didn't get to the 300 mark when I counted them. So I'm going to try to find the definitive list. And when I get that, we'll post it for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people just want to know.
You can request it from T9. You can request it from T9.
Yeah, and the list was short, so I'll do that and see what else we've got. The relative to needs, real world applicability. This is more conducive to taking what you learn from Toastmasters outside, which is why a lot of people join Toastmasters. They don't join Toastmasters to be the all perfect Toastmaster. They join Toastmasters to improve their life. So, and you've got meaningful, effective evaluations. And I added this word. You can store your evaluations online now, where before they were in a piece of paper. And if your house caught on fire, I've known people that have lost all their evaluations, or they moved and lost the box. So I think that the online storage is a very modern twist to it. There's 59 projects in case you're into numbers. Pathways doesn't change the club meeting, and these pluses right here, are the things that they feel are improved. So you have everything you have today and more. I'm not going to go through these slides in detail. Does anybody have any questions about how Pathways does not change the meeting? Okay. The support. This is a new slide. Betty Zweyer, Chief Ambassador. You've heard her talking here and probably seen her. She's been around the district for several years talking about this. We have 21 ambassadors. I'm sorry to let you know if you haven't known already, but Ruth Whistler passed away. Lesson and I went to her funeral today, and she will be sorely missed. She was one of our ambassadors. So Bill Henry's taking over the few clubs that still hadn't been visited by the ambassador and guide duo. I just want to make sure you all knew that. And I helped with the guides, make sure that we got, the guides that we needed. And boy, we have some great guides. Let me tell you, I'm just impressed. And what'll happen is if you get with me or Betty, we'll probably ask you the first question, did you get with your guide? What did your guide say? And then the other thing is you can always contact or go online on Toastmasters and do some research. One of the things we're asking, and you'll hear it later on, is read first, call a second. I know that some people would rather be told than read. I've experienced that in corporate America for years, where if you put together a new methodology, people don't want to sit down for an hour and read it. They want to call you and get the 5-minute answer. And we can't do that because there's 3,700 members in the district, and Betty and I don't have that much time to do that, and neither do the guides, quite frankly. So we're just, and some clubs are having like little mini parties or get-togethers where they go through it together. If you're a social animal or your club is a bunch of social butterflies, people don't have to do it at home, especially if they don't have a computer set up or quiet time and they got kids at home or whatever. You can do it things as a club. Some clubs did their assessments together virtually. I understand that was pretty cool. So if for next year, the support you're going to have, because the guides and ambassadors end June 30th, the club VPEs will be the main primary support July 1st on. So if you're grooming somebody for that role, or if you hadn't thought about it, I suggest you do. And you could even call them your assistant VPE, and have them work with the VPE that's doing the base camp manager. Or maybe if your secretary wants to be a VPE next year, hot dog, she's already got base camp. So, and the webinar Wednesdays, I'm hoping these two are enough. Betty and I are going to be listening to you to figure out if that's not going to be enough, but we're hoping by the time you get there, and you'll see with the pacing later on, by the time we get to July 1st, we'll have a little bit of expertise. In fact, Steve Lanham, who's on the line, told me that one of the members in one of his clubs actually joined a virtual club in China and is almost done with her first path. And so, Steve, I got to call into Sandy to talk about that. So I'll let you know, and we'll get back with you on that. But I would really love for her to talk about her experience at Spring Conference. So something else to look forward to at conference. I don't have the rollout status. Betty, did you get the email today?
Yes.
How many? What's the
89%, I believe it was. I think we have like 89%. The regions together are like 90-odd%, but our district was at like 80-something%, upper 80.
Okay. 80? Like that. Okay. I don't have a list of the reports anymore by guide. I had a spreadsheet, so I'm going to have to send the guides the spreadsheet and say, can you mark what you have done, because I can't see it anymore. I sent TINO, but they haven't sent me anything back. I was hoping I could just go in and see what the guides were putting in, because they said they'd still be able to report. I just can't see what they're reporting anymore. So I'm going to be looking for this information just to make sure we get 100%. The virtual sessions are scheduled. Go ahead.
District 40 is at 88.83%. Regions 3 and 5 are 95% overall.
Okay, cool. That's good. We did good.
Yes,
we amazed them. When they came on board, they were so excited about our regions, and they asked for 70%. We were like 85% last week or something. I mean, we were rocking it. So the virtual sessions, they're scheduled. Multiple clubs can attend those. So you have folks from other clubs there, and the reason we're doing it that way is for convenience. Some of the guides are actually switching clubs because one guide can't do a noon one and another guide can. So you may have on your virtual session find that you can take advantage of visiting with a different guide, and they should all have the same story. They may not have all the same knowledge yet. And when all the guides know that if they can't answer a question, they're to come find out what it is. And Betty's the subject matter expert on this stuff. I rely on her for everything. So what I'm hearing is most of the guides are seeing about an 85% warm fuzzy. There's about 15% of our members that are going, I don't know. When that's an officer, that's when I get a little worried. So I think that the officers, as leaders, we need to understand that this is the new program, and that we haven't even experienced it enough to know whether we like it or not. Basically, a lot of other folks have said, it's really great, and I can't imagine them spending all this time and energy with learning masters from a few years back to all the rep guides to everything else, and it not being an improvement. That would just be an astounding thing to happen. So be patient. And if they need print, we can do print. But I'm hoping this is pretty high, actually, 85% warm adoption. And I think it's because of the work that Betty and her ambassadors did the last couple of years to warm everybody up to the idea. So if you need any help with someone, contact your guide, and the guide will let me know if there's some angst that seems to be going disproportionately, and I can maybe help. But you are all leaders, so I'm hoping I don't have to do that. There's the PAS. You've seen all that. The levels. What we're recommending for a cadence is that by June 30th, each club complete 4 level 1s. 4 people do level 1s. And the reason is this. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, that's about a good cadence for 1 item per month for each of the people. And you can do 4 people in a month for their speeches, 4 icebreakers. Let's say you do the 3 icebreakers, 1 meeting, and a 4th one the next meeting. The other thing is that, for those who are going to renew, through October, it gives them a solid goal and a solid date. It gives you the club 1 DCP point for those who are switching from CC to the other program. And it'll give you several individuals that can mentor other people. If you have an average of 20 people in a club, and you've got 4 people that have been through level 1, that means 16 people haven't. And you can do the math. So I think it's good to have several people that are moving forward and have concise end dates for their work. And I think June 30th is an excellent target. So the pathway pins that you got in your kits, there were 3 of them. They were for the first 3 people who got their level 1. The district is going to supply the 4th pin for the 4th person. So all the VPEs, and you'll get an email about this, all the VPEs to send me the name of that 4th person, and we'll send you a pathways pin. And you'll also be recognized at the following conference. Here's the Distinguished Club Program now. You can get any 6. You can get 2 CCs and 4 level 1s. That's great. You got 2 points. You can get 2 of these, and that's great. You could ignore all this and do, a couple of these. I think it's going to be hard to get a level 2 this year still. Unless somebody's really, racing through it, and that's fine. But I think that probably the bulk of them will be these. A lot of people getting their DTM. You're only allowed 2 leadership awards. So if you've got 3 or 4 people in your club getting their DTM, hey, great, you're going to have more leadership awards than the minimum, the standard, the goal, whatever you want to call it, the bar that TI has raised for all the clubs. And that's fine. One club, I think we had 6 leadership awards in 1 year, and that's fine. I think it's great. The badges and awards. Right now, we're not encouraging so much that people give each other badges and say, hey, I think you did a good job. We just think that the basics are good enough for now. If anybody disagrees, that's fine. And you can start talking and teaching folks about the badges. But they're just, getting up to snuff now. I think we're probably, as a district, not going to encourage, giving badges until next year. Does that make sense? Because everything is just so new. But it's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. So D40 compatriots. Eventually we'll get to the point where we start giving badges to other people. And this year, as a leader, if you start thinking about who you want that to be, maybe, that you do the badge when they get their level 1 or something, but you catch them doing something good. So if they do something really excellent in a meeting, you can do that, but then share with everyone how you did it, the mechanics of it. And we're going to try to get our hands of the detailed how-to. I've been poring over some of the internet stuff, and the how-tos are a little bit slow. Some folks were doing screenshots, but I don't think we have anything that's like what I'm used to. So
you talking about giving feedback to each other? Those
Yes.
feedback badges. Yeah, that's all covered in the tutorials.
Cool.
Tutorial. Yeah, it's real easy to do. Very easy.
Is it done well?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because some of it, I guess, it hasn't been done quite as well. So anyway, if you guys find anything on the web, send it to Betty. And before you share it, because I want her to look through it first, make sure we don't have anything that isn't quite right, because you never know what another district is going to make a mistake on when they put something out there. But also so that we don't inundate everybody with multiple versions of the same thing. And Betty will work with Michael Pope to put it out there on the pathways stuff. Remind club members on a regular basis to do the badges. So that'll be something that you transfer to your officers next year when you do your transition training. And the thing is, we've added 1,000 members since July 1st. 1,000 new members. And those folks are brand new Toastmasters, and we really need to understand, from a VPE standpoint, are they doing Pathways or are they doing the new program? If you don't know whether somebody's doing the new program or Pathways, you need to get on that, because then you'll know what percentage of your folks are doing one versus the other, and you can help encourage them. In my mind, the Vice President of Membership brings them on board and helps welcome them, but it's the Vice President of Education that keeps our members, because they're the ones that are helping make sure the members is getting what they want out of Toastmasters. Okay. Evaluations, again, I mentioned that those are online. Some folks, I think, are a little bit timid about doing them electronically. You can print them. You can print them and put them in that little bin that the Sergeant at Arms has and pull them out. You can even do a generic one if somebody does a speech and they left their manual at home. I've seen clubs do the generic one. It's typically the presenter's job to bring the evaluation. There are a few clubs that have the VPE do it, and a few clubs have the Toastmaster do it. Few clubs give the evaluation out to everybody. Everybody in the club gets a copy, and that way the speaker gets all those evaluations. That's like gold. But it's up to each club how you do it. But I'd recommend, having printed ones, especially in case the Wi-Fi goes out or whatever. The mentoring program, this is down the road, but it might be good to start thinking about who in your club might want to be a mentor. I recommend each club start thinking about who they want to get to the point where they can become a mentor, but that's a ways down the way. I wanted to remind you that if you want to get Pathways pins for those 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th people who get their level 1s, there's a sale going on through July 31st, and the promo code is STARTPIN. This was in a little thing in your kits that you got, but you might not have seen it because it was part of the box. And that's 5880, I guess is the item number. So that's how you can look up an item, by the way. You put the item number, slash the item number, and you can go straight to it. Okay, frequently asked questions. How and when can a dual member get their second path? When you're ready. It doesn't expire. You call with your member number, or you can send a note to supply orders, and they will register the second path. It is slower than a phone call, but if you're not in any hurry because you got another path you're working on, that'll do. So is there any questions about this one? Okay, you might have already come across it. Why is the membership application for our district not on the Toastmasters.org site? They don't have the new Pathways application on the Toastmasters.org site. They have the old one. We need to use the one that was on our thumb drive. Yes, it's dated 2016. That's okay. They did a good job with the draft because it has stood the test of time, even for the pilot districts, and didn't need to be changed. So that's the application we need to use. Michael Pope's putting it on the D40 site, and once I get that, I'm going to send the link to all the club officers so you can all get to it. Okay? How can I include a letter to a member's employer when they complete the path? Right now, the process to submit the award is the same. You go to Club Central and you submit the award. So is there any questions on this, Steve? I think you were the one that brought this one up and answered it for someone.
Yes, that's the way to do it. Go to Club Central.
Okay. All right. Okay, what if I select the wrong path and want to change it? You have 30 days to do that. Okay, and so for online paths, you can call Toastmasters at this number or send an email to supply orders, and they're going to let you exchange one path per year.
Kathy,
this
I
one,
just want to tell Kathy, I just want to tell people, it seems like the phone number works faster than sending an email.
Yes, that's true. So Steve, you want to talk about this question here?
Okay. Well, we've actually taken care of this, and I did more research on this, and our VPE was a member of another club, and but you can change back and forth, and it doesn't really matter. And once you want to give a path, once you complete it to another club, you just tell that club, and they submit it. It doesn't matter if that's your home club or not. So this is not an issue anymore. And I got a response today, actually, from Toastmasters International about it too.
Right, everything is done when you log in. And remember that home club in Pathways is not the same as what you think of as your home club. Home club in Pathways just means the club that you are interacting with and working in Pathways, in Basecamp.
Did I say that right, Betty?
It not can be, it is. Okay, levels are approved by Basecamp Manager in Pathways. Levels are, you're given credit for a level through Club Central just like you do now. Okay, people get confused over approvals and credit.
Okay. Is that how you say it? Approvals are not equal to credits?
There you go. That's good.
Okay. So credits is the Basecamp guide where they see you on the dashboard. Approvals?
No. Credit
the opposite?
Right. Approvals go through Basecamp, goes to the Basecamp Manager. Credit is just submitting it through Club Central. You know, credit on your for the DCP is submitted through Club Central.
Okay. Gotta get those terms right. I'm learning. See how I rely on her? Okay. How do we get paper copies for folks online? A Basecamp Manager can order the paper version for any member on their behalf. Alternatively, a member can get it online by searching for it, printing it for themselves, or someone else by searching for the word offline. So we suggest the Sergeant at Arms put those in the bins, and I don't know why we would suggest it. I think let me take this
Paper
off.
copies.
I think I was thinking of application. So if somebody can't get online or is not computer savvy, if someone else can help, the VPE is the primary person to help with that, but someone else can, you know. Okay. For members without email, none of the training covered this, so we thought we would. You can ask if they want to do it in print. Ensure they do the registration and the assessment. Maybe bring your PC and help them sign on. They can do that, you know, help a fellow member out. There are 27 clubs in District 40 that have members, and I did not include the 2 prison clubs here, but these clubs have people that don't have an email address at Toastmasters International. So I know they're not getting the emails, and I'm going to send a note out to the VPEs of these clubs and make sure that they're aware that they don't have an email at Toastmasters, and they'll need to either get an email so that they can work on things or do it in print. Okay. And it could be they didn't put it on the membership application, right? Some tips. So this one came from Michael Pope. This is the one that I heard from it. He says each member has an online file storage system. It's called an ePortfolio. It's sort of like a Dropbox or a Google Drive. And so there's a link here that explains how to use it. And I'll go ahead and put this in the chat for you guys so you can copy it. Oh my gosh, it looks like there's Chinese there. Why did it do that? Ignore the Chinese. Copy it from the HTTPS on. That was weird. Okay. That's pretty cool. Basecamp manager should view the tutorial like I mentioned earlier. Read first, call second. The dual member thing, a member can only be in one Basecamp at a time. And like Steve and Betty were saying earlier, you know, that can drive you crazy. I think some of the VPEs really had a detailed handle on the steps that each person in their club was taking. And I talked to one such VPE last weekend, and he says, you know, I can't see what someone else is doing in my club. And I think that that's where we say you got to let go and trust the member. The member's in charge of tracking their own stuff. They just have to provide proof. So if they do go to another club and you're their VPE and you've got to do this approval, they should bring something, you know, some sort of proof. The evaluation is primo, and they could bring, you know, the printed agenda if there is one. Some clubs occasionally don't have a printed agenda because that person got sick that day. But somehow each member is responsible for supplying the proof of the execution to the VPE. The VPE shouldn't have to chase them down. Okay? For when they complete the level. So if we have questions that you guys are getting, call your guide first. We sometimes get questions that TI doesn't have an answer to. We've got one outstanding one now on the prison clubs, but you guys don't have to worry about that. And so send an email to your guide, copy Betty, and I'm going to put, I didn't finish your email here. Betty,
it's Toastmaster.
Which one do you want?
Toastmaster BLZ.
Thanks. At
Gmail.
Hotmail?
Gmail.
Gmail?
Yeah.
All right. Let me put that in there for you guys. Thank you. That's why I didn't finish it. I wanted to ask you what you wanted. So send it to your guide. Copy Betty, because Betty might have the answer. She might be able to help you with it fast. Plus, she needs to know what kind of questions.
I haven't had a question yet I didn't know the answer to. Don't forget don't forget the comma on the end there.
The comma.
Gmail.com.
Duh. How long have I been in IT? Thank you. BLZ, Betty, is it Lynn's Ware?
Lou, Betty Lou.
Betty Lou. Ooh, Betty Lou, Betty Lou. I love that song. Any of the Cruisers. Oh, God. Okay, so we're to the Q&A part now. I did a lot of talking. What kind of things are you guys struggling with? Anything?
Kathy, Billy, they left a question on the chat. I don't know if either you or Betty saw it.
I didn't. Let me go look at it.
846. Question, when get to appropriate section, what is process for capturing field of meeting role, parentheses, in project path versus under my account, close parentheses, question mark.
Oh, sorry, I replied to her privately. What I said was their meeting roles are only tracked if you want to track them in my account, and then it only tracks the most recent. Now, there are 3 roles that are required in those first 3 levels. Your speech evaluator role is going to be required during that evaluation and feedback project in level 1. And being a table topics master is required under the active listening elective project. Now, you're not required to do that active listening elective, but you are required to be a topics master. So other than that, I don't know where it's required. And I haven't yet found where being Toastmaster is required for a project, but it is required that you complete that before the end of level 3.
Okay, there was a lot to that. I was going to try to type the answer. So what's the direct answer to Belene's question for capturing the fill of meeting role?
I'll tell you what, I typed it to her in the chat box. I'll just send it again to everybody.
Okay, that would be great. And then I'll just copy it and paste it in here, and then we've got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you, Betty. So let me make sure that I understand. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. If I have a requirement in my project, so in my path, there is a project requirement to fill a role. That will be captured as part of the requirement in my project work. Is that correct?
Right. When you complete that role, that'll be part of marking that project as complete.
So any capturing of filling of roles under my account is strictly optional. You don't have to capture anything there. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Betty?
Yeah.
Betty, this is Yu Chen. I got your email answering my question about the evaluation form.
Yes.
I'm not quite understand. I'm sorry. Could you please clarify? Did you say that the evaluation form is a standard or it's different from Pathways?
Pathways, every project in Pathways has its own evaluation form. Now, some of them are probably the same, but there's a different one that you can download for each project. Because they vary, the criteria that are evaluated for projects vary from project to project.
Okay,
some
I see.
have 6 criteria, some have 8. And then there's different categories too.
Okay, so here, if we are VPE, and then so we need to, some people, they even do not know, they have to print their own evaluation form. So we have to go to their pathway and their level to print it out.
Yes, if someone cannot print their evaluation form or bring it with you, then bring it with them, then they need to let you know what project it is they're working on. And that you can get them all under tutorials and resources, or I think under the evaluation tab in Basecamp. There's a number of ways to get them, but they're all there.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Huh?
Yeah, I have one situation when I try to go to, I found to the profile, Basecamp profile, and I found interesting. It's not my name, it's somebody else's name. It's an email address.
In your profile, it was automatically populated with Imelda's address?
Yes, yeah, it's Imelda's email address is there instead of mine.
I don't know about that. I'd have to call TI about that, Yu-Chen.
Okay, yeah.
Can you change it?
So what was it about the email address? What was the question?
She said when she opened up her profile, it had somebody else's email address in it.
Oh, yeah, you got to call them to fix that. That sounds like a conversion problem. Yeah. I've never heard that one before.
Oh, that's a new one on me.
Yeah. Huh. That having written programs to do database conversions, it sounds like they were missing the limiter, and so a record got backed up into the wrong record. The data got backed up into the wrong record.
So, Betty, this is Beline. I have another question. If we're working through the icebreaker, do you happen to know what are the pieces that actually track your progress? And what I'm asking is, I have there's a member that reached out with a question. They were working through the icebreaker material online, and they felt that they had, I'm going to put this in air quotes, saved their progress. However, when they went back in, none of their information was there. I don't know exactly what that means, if they had completed the after assessment or exactly what they had done. But do you know what are the placeholders or tracking of progress as we work through our icebreaker?
As far as the icebreaker, I had the same thing happen to me. I took that before, you know, where you assess your skills before,
Yeah.
and then I got interrupted, and so I closed it out, and I thought when I came back in that I would pick up after that, but I had to go through it again too. Short answer, no, I couldn't tell you exactly. It doesn't seem to me to work correctly, because I don't think you should have to go through it again. But you do have to do the assessment, assess your skills after too, before you can mark that project complete.
Yes, and I know I looked it up through our master Q&A, and it's explained on there that you have to touch each piece of the material or each of those steps on the site that's outlined as you work through the icebreaker. And then after you touch each section, it will log you as being complete, even if you haven't actually given the speech, unfortunately. But if you complete both the assessments, yeah. So if you touch each piece, but I didn't know if there were actual like bookmarking that takes place. So, okay, all right, thank you.
Since that cat is out of the bag, let's make it really, really clear right here that while that is what happens, that is not the intent, and our district very strongly discourages anyone from trying to skate through that way. And a project should not be marked complete until you have actually completed every requirement for that project. I can't believe they didn't figure out a way to stop that from happening, but I see a big problem with it.
Yeah, you're shortchanging yourself, really, if you choose to do that. Yeah.
But we do have a safeguard there in the to move from one level to the next. BPE, or the base camp manager, has to verify that the work on each project in that level was completed. So if they can't show that they actually did the speech, then the base camp manager cannot and say that they don't approve it.
That's true, Steve. I hope we have some very strong base camp managers.
Yes.
Betty?
Yeah, you too.
Yes. So if we are VP education, and we are trying to complete our pathway, for example, the level 1. And so who else, like another officers can approve mine, or can I approve myself?
The president and secretary are also base camp managers. They also have those capabilities. So when the VPE needs an approval, they just have the president or the secretary approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Betty, I'm not a strong Basecamp manager yet, and I know I haven't watched the video, so I'll pay the fine.
No, I'm reading your
How do I schedule my icebreaker? Let's assume I'm just a member. How does one schedule an icebreaker?
Do it the same way you do now through your VPE. Whether you tell your VPE or you do it on your website, however you schedule speeches now, you schedule them the same way in Pathway.
Okay, so we can continue to use Frito's host.
Oh, you betcha.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is Margie. I tapped in the chat box. I bet he knows that I'm paranoid about this, being able to verify that people actually finished everything, every requirement for each level. Because there are some requirements that we won't see, such as finishing their assessments, that kind of thing.
Well, you just have to know that Pathways is not going to let that button that says mark complete, that's not going to come up until they have at least touched everything they're supposed to. And we just have to trust that they did more than touch it. They actually did what they were supposed to do. and you can track that progress in the dashboard, but that's all we can know. Other than, you see them give the speeches in the meeting, and it's more formal now how you request to do something outside the club, and I think we should really stick to that, having people fill out those forms, especially when people are in multiple clubs. It's going to make it a lot easier for the base camp manager if they already have that piece of paper that says, I did this there because, for this reason.
Yeah, I noticed that there were, in fact, and I agree with this actually, to encourage them to do some of these projects outside the club because they're real life projects, but that's hard to verify.
And then everybody gets an evaluation, so no one is required to put their evaluation online. You only needed hard copy. But if you do something outside the club, I think it makes sense to then require them to bring that evaluation form back, and up.
Is that an official, or is that just something that each club?
That's just Betty saying that that's what should happen. But that's a way. I mean, it's up to each base camp manager what requirements they put on their club. It's up to each club how they enforce that. But that
people might get annoyed.
Well, I don't think that shouldn't bother anybody. You're going to have that form anyway, so why not bring it back? Here's the proof that I was there and did it.
So bottom line, it's the member's choice. This is what I'm hearing, Betty, whether or not they post it to this new Dropbox, this new storage area themselves.
Right. Yes, it's called ePortfolio in your profile, and you can put anything you want to in there, but you're not required to do anything.
Okay.
Does the base camp manager, I'm sorry. Does the base camp manager automatically have access to everyone's Dropbox?
I'm not sure what you mean when you're saying Dropbox. Oh, their ePortfolio? No, I don't think so. I think you can only track their educational progress.
And Kathy, are you going to publish this as a PDF, I guess, and share it on an email?
The slide deck?
Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking that we would save it with the recording and they could see the recording. If you think that it's good enough to do it as a PDF in addition to the recording, that's fine too. I hesitate to put it there without the explanations Betty is giving. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they go together. I agree.
Yeah. No, that's okay. It was a good question. And as you can tell, I'm updating it as we discuss because this is a discovery meeting. So I'm sure there's more. I hate to give somebody something else to read, but I think the conversation is probably the most valuable thing. That's why we did the webinar instead of sending something out. Betty, you want to make any other comments before we sign off? And how about the rest of our evening?
Just, I hope everybody's out there enjoying Pathways. I'm working away on my second speech. I'm excited.
Me too. I've got my assessment.
Kathy, this is Scott Holohan. I had a question. So I'm a secretary in my club, and I noticed that I do have access to Basecamp Manager. However, there's nobody in there yet. Does that mean that people have to go in to actually select the path before that shows up in Basecamp, or should my members already be in there?
I don't know, and that's good, Scott, because selecting a path wasn't one of the things that we had. When Chin talked about it earlier, we were trying to figure out whether they just show up because they're a member, or because they've got a profile that they've built, or because they did the assessment, and now you're saying select a path. So I'm going to post that question to Toastmasters to see when they start showing up, and we'll try to figure that out.
Okay, because I logged into Basecamp and I, as a secretary, didn't see anything in there for my club. Nothing.
I think it's going to depend on the information you're looking for, because when I was looking, like the one thing was, was showing me what paths. Well, if nobody has selected a path, then nothing's going to show up.
Okay, so you have to select a path. One has to select a path for it to show up in Basecamp.
To show up that information, you know, the dashboard I was looking at was what paths people had chosen. So
because I'm looking at, when I went into Basecamp Manager, I have 3 areas. I have pending requests, member progress, or manager tutorials. So I'm looking at member progress. I look in there and there's nobody in there, and there's nobody in pending requests either.
What you need to do is go.
Nobody.
This is Karen Dodd. I do the same thing.
Nobody would.
Myself and one other person have both started pathways, and I don't see anybody, even myself.
Right. Okay. It depends, number one, what you're looking for on the dashboard. If you're on that number 1 individual progress, the one thing they always tell you to do is click up there in options on the right and hit refresh.
Oh, okay.
And then it'll pop up and it'll show you, it should show you the latest date that it was refreshed. And then see, I'm not getting it. It says no record. And I know I'm there, and I worked in level 1. Now in path progress, that's only going to show you if people that have selected paths.
Okay.
You know, same thing with path type and all those other ones. But individual progress, it makes sense to me that all the members should show up there, just that they haven't done anything. But I'm looking right now, and I'm not even seeing the 2 members that I saw earlier today. So I think there's a glitch with the system myself.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Betty, are you looking as a member or are you looking as Basecamp manager? I know I was working with another Basecamp manager, and they were, that was a piece that was confusing to them. They kept forgetting to check that.
Yeah. Well, if you're not logged in as Basecamp manager, you can't access the dashboard anyway. But
you have to be a secretary, a president, or a VPE, right?
Right.
One of those 3.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a secretary. I can't see anything.
I'm hitting refresh over and over again, and it's not doing anything. It's not even coming up with the little, so they've got another glitch.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Well, what you said before about not seeing anything under request, the only thing you'll ever see under my request is people requesting approval for completing a level or requesting approval outside the club. That's what comes up in requests.
Gotcha.
It just popped in.
What are
the individual progress just popped in on my screen, and I can see now it's only showing the 2 members in my club who have actually chosen a path.
Okay, so you have to choose a path for you to show up.
Looks like.
I just refreshed mine, and I see my folks too. Well, I don't see their names, but I see something.
Well, if you want to see their name, you hover over it until, well, see up there, it tells you, hover over a box.
Okay.
And select the arrow, and then view details, and then it'll tell you the names. In really tiny print, it's really kind of stupid, but that's the way it is.
Well, personally, the most beautiful thing is that this is sounding like work the more I hear about it, because yes, technical support.
Really, the only work is learning how to do it. Once we get used to it, I think it's really going to be very helpful.
I agree. Just like anything else. I know some VPEs had spreadsheets, paper charts, and this should be easier for them.
And on the chat, I don't know if Arlene chimed in. She said, "May I add something?" So she's muted right now. So I guess we went over what she wanted, but I don't see anything else in the chat.
Arlene, go ahead.
There she's back.
Larry Logan's left. He's learned everything he needed. Arlene? Did you have a question? Okay. I guess at this point, we'll stop the recording. It's 9:30. And well, 1 minute till. But I thank
May
everybody
I
for
have
coming. Go ahead.
Hi, excuse me, Kathy.
Uh-huh.
May I ask a question? Here, TI asked for a common mailbox for the three managers to access. How do you do for a common mailbox? I went to Gmail to create one, but it's under my name, which is not right. So do you have any suggestion how to make a common generic email mailbox for 3 people to access for the TI?
Is Michael Pope on the webinar? Okay, I'll forward you an email he sent me, Yu-Chen. Has great directions on how you can do that.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. This is an answer. Okay. Anything else? I don't want to end it too soon. If somebody still has a question. Okay. So Francisco, I think we can stop recording. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
It's really a question. I'm going to change that to a question. So Betty, thank you for taking some time out of your day for this one.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. Okay. Everybody have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Kathy, you want to go ahead and stop sharing while you're doing all the edits, just in case?
I'm done with the edits.
Yeah, I'll just linger here until everybody's gone so I can close the meeting. We stopped recording a few minutes back.
Okay. Thank you so much for monitoring and telling us there were questions in the chat. That's very helpful.
Yep, we're learning, like you said.
Yeah. Do you know if we have figured out how to mute everybody but one person on GoToMeeting when people call in on the phone?
I've been playing with that on the attendees box where it counts. By the way, we went up to a high water mark of 18. There is 2 buttons. There is a mute all, a red mute all, and a green unmute all. And you can do much like the other applications. You can right click on top of somebody and you can do a lot in here. Mute, send an unmute request, send a webcam request, make presenter, send chat message, and dismiss. So you can do a lot on in here on attendees, on the participants, as some other places call it. But that's where you control the mute and unmute. Yes.
How do I get to that? Because I tried to mute all the other day, and we still had somebody who was calling in on a phone that I couldn't mute because they were on the phone.
I saw some people on the phone, and you will see the icon. They won't have like a mic or a camera. They will have a little handset. I assume it's the same thing, Kathy. You right click, like right now. I you know, it's only 3 of us. Well, Sherry's there. I can mute and unmute her. Right click, mute and unmute. You see it? Right click.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. I was just wondering if there was a different screen you were seeing.
You know, the only other thing is, Kathy, maybe because you are just the presenter and not the organizer. Sometimes these applications will, you know, distinguish between both. and give more rights to the organizer. So let me check, for example, if I can make you an organizer. No. So that would be more of a, again, that's the host task. Or you're saying, when we schedule this, set yourself up as the organizer. That's usually the case. Like in, for example, in Zoom, that's with the whole host and co-host conversation. That gives you full rights on what's going on in the webinar.
Maybe because I wasn't signed in as Don D. Hoff then?
Exactly.
Okay, because I was the host. I started at the meeting and I was the host, but I couldn't do it. But maybe it was because I was signed in as me.
Yeah, that's the only difference that I see right now as teleconferencing coordinators is me as organizers and you're there as the presenter. And that kind of follows that pattern. You know, somebody has full control and somebody else is presenting. That's my.
Yeah, I thought I had full control. I thought I was the presenter. In fact, my name looked like it said Don D. Hoff. I like the way you have teleconferencing coordinators there now, because it used to say Don D. Hoff, and that was confusing. People would get on and they'd say, "Hi, Don," and I said, "No, it's Kathy."
Something like that. Exactly.
So that's really cool. You changed that. All right. Well, we'll wait and see if we have that problem again, and if we do, I'll try to look around and see what if that might be the case.
Yeah, we'll learn it. We'll tame it. Like I said, these are all applications. Like you yourself said, it's bread and butter. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah. Hey, question for you. Did you send in paperwork to be an AD?
That was due when? That's due in April.
For the area directors, not until next month, but I just want to make sure you send yours in.
Yeah. Julian and Olivia were working on that, and I remember the conversation between elected, division and above, an area. So yeah, that I have it on my calendar for March.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, Kathy. Thank you.